Today we're going to talk about um, animal mashups. I've got a project called genetic engineering, and the idea is that you are going to take several different animals and combine them to create a new animal. These are examples of what's called an animal mashup, so it's similar to what I'm describing. Typically, they only use two animals when they're doing a mashup, so here we've got a little piglet mixed with a duckling. Some of them are cute, some of them are kind of scary. Here's a horse mixed with a shark. This one's quite clever. It's an elephant with butterfly wings instead of ears, so that kind of works pretty well. Um, so these run a range of being kind of hilarious and ridiculous to being kind of interesting to being kind of scary. Like, I don't know if you want to see a snarling dog attached to an owl coming at you, or a shark attached to a rhino charging you. Those are kind of scary. Cute is a duckling mixed with a turtle, things like that. So your job is going to be to select more than two animals. It's got to be at least three animals that you're going to join together. A good base to start with would be perhaps one land animal, one animal from the sea, and perhaps one animal from the sky, or an animal that can fly. Those are good starting points. I'm not going to tell you you have to have one of each, but it would be a good idea to have at least two from different categories, and then perhaps one from the same category. So this one's kind of interesting. It's like a crab mixed with an armadillo. Ooh, here's a turtle, a sea turtle mixed with a giraffe. That's pretty cool. So take some time to look at different pictures of different mashups to kind of get an idea of what you're doing. And then what you need to do is pick a couple different animals to go ahead and look at. So I knew that I was going to have an eagle as part of the three animals that I chose. So the most distinctive feature of an eagle, of course, is going to be its wings. Perhaps its talons, perhaps its beak, things like that. And you want to choose pictures of animals that are doing some kind of action. So here I did a search of eagle swooping, and I get all these pictures that I'm looking for a specific type of position of the wings for what I want to do. I don't necessarily want the eagle flying, but maybe in the process of taking off or landing or coming in to strike at a creature, something like that. So some kind of action. I also chose some different animals. So let me go to my canvas here and open it up. So there's the eagle. That's the picture that I got and imported. It hasn't been changed in any way. I also got pictures of bison and a moray eel. So let me go ahead and bring those forward, and so you can see them as well. So here are the three pictures, one inside the other kind of. So the bison picture was quite small, so it's going to need a little bit of work to get it to look correct with the type of setting that I want to put it in, and I'm going to have to do some custom painting to kind of give the fur a more higher definition look. But this is my basis. I wanted a bison kind of looking like it was walking with some purpose, so I chose that. Let me put that away for a second. Whoops. Here we go. So here's the picture of the moray eel I got. And you can see it's pretty much just the head. I did find a picture of a moray eel tail that I'll probably include, but I want to use the moray eel's head on the bison. And I may incorporate the bison's horn in there somehow. But as you can see, the moray eel is bright green and the bison is brown, so I'm going to have to make a decision about the color of this animal, whether I want it to be more like a fantastic color, which would be that green, or kind of like take the green of the moray eel and brown it down so it matches the fur, and I can blend that. So that's a decision that I'm going to have to make, and you'll have to have similar decisions where you have to decide what color you want the thing to be, whether you want to change something about it, adjust it in some way. So let's move on to the eagle. So here I have an eagle kind of swooping in. He's looking down, trying to find some prey, and his wings are in a certain position. So what I've done is I've already gotten some things in place as far as layers that I've made. So I'm going to bring them forward, and let's just see what we've got. So I've got a couple layers here. I've got the bison that I cleared the background out of and kind of trimmed out. I've got the moray eel, which I resized slightly and flipped horizontally, so now it's facing the same way as the bison is. I could just as easily have flipped the bison around and having it face to the right instead of the left. I like this compositionally better because the background that I chose is kind of like a rocky coastal background, so it kind of makes sense. What this creature could do is it could walk along the coast, peering into the water, fly off the cliff, dive down into the water, and then with its big eel mouth, it could snatch up a fish and fly back out to the cliffs. So it could be omnivorous, and it could eat fish, and it could eat grass, I suppose. Because bison eat grass and moray eel eat fish and other, things that swim in the sea. Eagle eat fish too, so it all makes sense. So you want to kind of have a believable combination of animals and think about how you could combine them and where might they live. Because what I'm asking you to do is create a mashup of these three animals, whichever animals you choose, and place them in an environment that kind of makes sense. So it's going to be slightly realistic, but slightly fantastic, a mixture of both. It wants to be believable, basically. So I'm working on getting the wings kind of on this animal right now. So let me bring back this picture of the eagle, and right now I want the wing that's in the front. So let me put away the bison and the background so I can focus on this eagle wing. So I'm going to use the selection tool, the magic wand right here. Turn the tolerance up so I can get a good amount of stuff. So I'm just going to tap it on the background here, and that's selected that whole area. So now I'm going to just erase. Let me turn my eraser up all the way. I'm just going to erase everything that's been selected. Okay, very easy. And then once I've got that rid of everything, I can deselect, and now I can be a little bit more careful about what I want to erase. And I'm just looking for the wing that's in the front. So I'm getting rid of everything. Let's see here. I'm working in this layer. There we go. Yeah, let me make sure that wing goes away. I'm getting rid of everything but that front wing, so I've got to be careful around it. I can be fairly quick about erasing the talons and the tail and the head and the body of the eagle, but I really want to be careful about preserving the outline of this wing. Being careful not to erase too much. I think that might have been a little bit much right there, so I'm going to undo that last bit. Always remember, if you make a mistake or you do something that's not quite what you wanted to or had planned, that undo button is your friend. Okay, so now I'm getting much closer to having my selection made. Very careful trimming out around here. The reason I'm doing the wings in two separate layers is I want to be able to place one wing behind the body of the bison and the other wing in front of the body of the bison. If I kept them together, I would just kind of plunk them down and it wouldn't look like one was in front of the other. Let me bring the other wing back so you can see this is what the wings look like together. Let me bring that bison back. Now, if I have that bison there, you see how this back wing is kind of looking strange, like it's just kind of sitting on top of him? I want to push that back in space, so I'm going to take that back wing, I'm going to pull that layer down beneath the bison layer, and now I've got the wing on the other side of the bison. Without having to worry about how much to trim out, I just plopped it behind the bison, so now it looks like it's attached on the other side. And I need to do a little bit of painting around here to blend this wing in. So I'm going to select the bison layer. I'm going to hit the plus sign on the layer tab. And now I have a new layer that doesn't have anything in it, but I'm going to sample the colors of the bison, and I'm going to go to a brush that's going to give me, I'm going to do a bit of airbrushing. So slide it down to, I believe, traditional right here. And I'm going to do a soft airbrush. No, I'm going to do a hard airbrush. Go to my settings, make sure it's a good size for the hair that I want to draw. Opacity, if that's up all the way, it's going to be completely solid. So let's zoom in and do a little bit of painting here. Okay. So there it is. Oh, it's important to have this above the layer you're painting over. So there it is. Yeah, that's okay. So now very carefully I want to try to incorporate some of these colors so it doesn't look, maybe the airbrush is too smooth. Let's go into something a bit rougher. Let's get some pencil. This will probably give me a better furry texture. Let's see. Oh yeah, that's much better. So I want to kind of make it look like the hair is growing up around the feathers and kind of blending in along the edge here. So I'm just gonna do this base color here, and I'm gonna pick some of these shadowy colors from the fur and kind of get them underneath of the wing. I'm also going to take the opacity down here because I think it's a bit aggressive. I want to be able to blend, not overcome everything so much. So let me blend this into the color around it so it's not too obvious. You're going to have to fiddle and play with this to get it to look how you want it to look. I'm just blending this bottom edge a little bit. You can also pull some of the colors of the wing down in there too. To kind of help you blend that shadow in there, because this is going to create a shadow. This depending on where the light's coming from, there should be kind of a shadow. So in that case, you may want to airbrush it. But that's advanced. I'm just trying to blend this in for now and get it to look like it's actually growing out of. I might do a little bit of blending of the eagle color into there. Kind of stretch it out into that furry area. So that takes the edge, and instead of being a sharp cut edge like you see around the wing, because that's a very well-defined edge, it's the wing against the sky, which was a nice clean edge. This is going to have to be a bit rougher and a bit more organic, and so that's why we're doing this painting, to kind of blend these things in and give it the sense that it's more natural. Maybe put a couple little wisps of hair to kind of really break up that edge even more, make it even more believable. So this is the part where the artistry comes in, is blending these things together and making them look believable, because we are just stealing, well, let's say borrowing. We're borrowing pictures from the internet, but we're using them to create something completely original and new. So I think that that's a pretty good blend right there of that. And you can see, if I take it away and put it back, that's the difference. This is kind of slapped together and just kind of stuck on, whereas this looks like it's integrated and it's actually a part of that bison. So that's how that's done, to integrate that. Now let's take a look at this moray eelhead. Now it's too far away, so let's bring it. Let's make sure we're selecting the right layer. Let's transform this. Let's bring it in. Now we have choices here. because this is such a big head, we could resize it and make it bigger or smaller, but I think this is a good size. I could put it high up on the shoulder like this and then kind of try to blend it that way, or I could put it lower down. And I think the slope of the neck coming in here, if I keep this right about here, maybe a little bit lower, I can believably get it to, I like that. That placement looks good. Now, I've been presented with some problems here because, whoop, that was not what I wanted to do. I actually want to leave it right about there. Let's say done. So that's in the right spot now. Okay. So the problems that I've been presented with are there's still some bison left over behind it where I don't want it to be. So now I've got to take my bison picture. So I'll select that layer and I've got to erase some things. Eraser right here. And I don't really need to worry about how clean I am right here because I just want to get rid of that chin and I want to get rid of the top part of the head just here. Okay. Yeah, so now that kind of makes a bit more sense. And now I have a decision to make. Do I want to blend the flesh of the eel into the fur of the bison, or do I want to have the bison's fur kind of come over the flesh of the eel and blend like that? I still haven't made a decision about the color of this, but I think I might want to make the eel, I think I might want to make the eel brown, but just to hedge my bets, I'm going to duplicate this layer, okay, before I make any big changes. So I'll hit the duplicate button. Now I have a backup right here. I'm going to make it invisible. I'm going to select the one that is visible. And now I can go back in to HSL adjustment. So that's hue, saturation, and lightness. And I can start changing the color. So here I'm kind of modifying the color a little bit. I think that's pretty close. Let's go further. Okay. So I think this is pretty close, getting closer to kind of like a brown tan color. Let's take some saturation out of it and let's make it a little bit darker. Add some saturation back. It's a little bit red. I'll bring it back. I think that's about right. That's looking pretty good. So we'll say done. So now the moray eel's head has been adjusted, and I want to do another layer of fur. So I'm going to add a layer above that brown moray eel's head. I'm going to sample some of the fur on here, and I'm going to go to a brush. You know what? That pencil was working fine. Let's just go with the 9B pencil. It had good texture. Yeah, I'm liking that. So I'm just going to take this edge and I'm going to blend it in, and I'm going to do a bit of a time lapse for that. So I'll have this this eel head integrated fully in just a second. There's the head blended into the body. I did a combination of things. I took my pencil tool and I kind of drew in some hairs and added some texture to it. I also took my airbrush and darkened some areas especially underneath, to kind of give it a sense of the lighting that's on the bison. It's the light is coming from the upper left pretty strongly, and so it's casting a bit of a shadow underneath the jaw of the eel and the bison too. So that lighting made sense. So we've integrated the wings, we've integrated the head. Now I think we need a tail, because this bison, well, you can't see the bison's tail, but I think adding an eel tail would be super cool. So let's go to my camera roll, because I've already saved an eel body. Let's size it a little bit differently. I'm just interested in the tail. I'm not interested in the whole body. I think I want to get maybe the back half or back third of this eel for the tail. So what I'm going to do is, we'll say that's good, but we want to flip it because obviously that's going the wrong direction, and I think that's probably a good enough size, maybe a little bit bigger, about like that. And we'll say done. And let's just grab a really big giant eraser and go to settings and make it huge, so we can get rid of a bunch of this stuff quick, because we're just interested in the tail. We don't want any of the background. So I can very quickly get rid of that now. Let's go ahead and move it behind the bison's body, and we'll transform it some more. So we'll move it, we might even tilt it a little bit so it comes in line with the bison's spine. Maybe not that much, maybe about, yeah, it's looking like about the right length. Make it look believable. Okay, we'll say done, and just in case we'll duplicate it, because we may want to decide something about colors, but we'll get rid of that. Let's go ahead and we'll do an HSL adjustment to give it more of a brown look. There we go. Let's darken it slightly. Take out some of the saturation. Yeah, that's matching up quite nicely. We'll say done, and then we'll get into trimming it out some more. So we'll go back to our eraser, make it a better size, and let's see about getting rid of parts that we don't need. And what I might do is add some fur to this along its length. Maybe, we'll see. I haven't decided yet, but it's a possibility, because it definitely looks like it could have like some fur on the edge there, because the wrinkles in the flesh kind of lend themselves to having some fur along the edge. So I might add some black fur to it, just to kind of give it a bit of a flair. So there's all kinds of decisions that you need to make. What color things are, what position you want the animal to be in, where do you want to place it in the frame, what do you want it to be doing, what actions do you want it to do, all that kind of stuff. So lots of decisions to make. What animals to pick, what parts of them to choose, all that stuff. And the environment. You got to choose an environment for them to live in. So all together, all that stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and do a bit of a time lapse, integrate this tail, position all the other pieces, maybe add the horn back in, and then bring in the background, and then we'll go from there. The final thing that I needed to do with this, after having blended all the body parts and positioned them and gotten them just right, and adjusted the lighting and adding some texture to the edge of the body to give it a sense that it's not just been cut out. I need to integrate this animal into its setting. The original picture of the bison has the front of the hoof cut off because it was behind something in the picture, and the rear hoof was also behind something, so that's not actually that. So what I need to do is I need to select elements of this background that suggest that these body parts are kind of behind or stepping on something. So I'm going to take a portion of my background here, and I'm going to need to duplicate it first. So now I have two versions of the background. I'm going to make the under one invisible for a moment, and I'm going to take my eraser and I'm going to get rid of everything except for the rocks in front of the hind foot and the front foot that is bearing the weight. The other front foot is kind of coming up off the ground, so it's not touching anything, and so is the one of the other rear feet. Only 2 feet are making contact. So now I need to go to my eraser, and where are you? Here we are. I'm going to get rid of everything that I don't need. I just want to preserve, you'll see, I want to preserve just a couple parts. So I don't need any of this. Okay. And I don't need to be too careful with this. Alright. Don't need any of that. I do want to make sure that I get rid of any part of the background that would be in front of parts of the bison that I do want to keep. So here I'm going to just get this. Alright. Now here's the trick. I want to be careful around this water. So I'm going to make my eraser very small. And I just want to get the rocky edge defined here. And I do need to make my bison go away for a second so I can see this better. So let's see where to go. There. I just want to be very careful around this rocky edge. And I may need to go back and add some rocky texture to the edge of this, because I've kind of taken this background away and it's difficult to get just the right edge on here. So, but that's not going to be difficult. So I'm isolating these 2 rocks because I want to place them in front of the feet of the bison. Okay, and then I'll also need to take a look at the bison back in there and make sure that I am not going to place any part of these rocks in front of a body part that I don't want to cover up. Okay, just continue erasing. So everything is a combination of subtracting material that you don't want, adding texture and shading and lighting and color that you do want, and integrating these images together to form a cohesive whole out of separate parts from separate photographs. This is the core of good photo editing, to create something new. Okay, let's get rid of the rest of this. Alright, just making sure everything's gone. Now let's bring the bison back. Okay, and what we want to do is we want to take this layer that we've created and we want to move it up so that it is in front of the bison, right there. And now those 2 feet appear behind those rocks. So I want to make some more adjustments to these rocks. I think I'm gonna choose a dry marker. Yeah, that's a good texture. a dry marker for my rocky texture, and I'm going to sample the colors that are in here and just kind of break this edge up. I need to make it smaller and 100% just to break this edge up a little bit. Make it not so smooth. Sample some of the colors from within the rock itself just to kind of get the gist of the lighting and the shadow so it looks more naturalistic. Maybe pick some highlight colors for the edges of these. Make it more believable. Okay, so I'm just roughing it up so it's not so smooth. That's the general idea. I'm going to give it a rocky texture without overdoing it. I think I'm pretty close. Get some of this highlight color. Get the edges here a little bit. Okay. And this other part here will blend into the rock that's already there, because I haven't moved any of the rocks around. I've just eliminated some of them. So now what I can do is, once I've got that how I want it, I can bring the background back, and now it looks like nothing really has changed in the background, but those pieces of the bison are behind those rocks, and now he looks, he, she, it, whatever, looks integrated into the scenery. So that is how you create a genetically modified creature or an animal mashup. To recap, you need at least 3 animals. They can be from different biomes, we'll call it. Some from the sky, some from the sea, some from the land. Any combination of those 3, but you have to have a minimum of 3 animals. You want to select pictures that have some kind of action taking place, so that your picture isn't just of, like, I don't know, like an animal just sitting doing nothing. If it's in motion, it'll be much more interesting. If the mouth is open, maybe it's fierce, maybe it's baring its teeth, it's more interesting. If the wings are outstretched instead of folded, also more interesting. So some kind of action happening in the picture is always a plus. Then select a background that makes sense, so that you can put this creature in a setting that makes sense for it. And then you finish it. Put it all together and finish it. Add whatever texture and lighting you need to add to make it believable, and then that will be done. What I need from you is I need you to make sure that you give me the individual files of the animals that you chose. So here off to the side, I have a picture of the bison, I have a picture of the background, I have a picture of the moray eel, and I have a picture of the eagle. I don't have the tail in there, it's up there. But those are the raw images, the raw image files, without you having erased anything in the background, having changed any colors, having flipped it horizontally or vertically or whatever. I want the 3 original pictures of the 3 original animals, and I want the picture of the background included, because I want to make sure that this is original and that it is yours. So I want to see your source files. So you'll need to submit each one of those separately, and then you'll need to make the submission of your final piece with all of those things integrated together to create your animal in your setting. So have fun with this. Enjoy your time doing it, and yeah, I can't wait to see what you guys come up with. Alrighty, that's all I've got for you today. You guys have a good one, and I will see you later.